Hello and welcome to this week's episode of TLDR CLG. This is the week of February 16th, 2015, and we're going to be covering all the things that happened for CLG and all the things that are happening in the following week. So my name is Azure, and these are my co-hosts, Cry and Jim. So we're going to be just talking about what happened for LoL first. So CLG versus Coast and CLG versus TSM. These are probably the two games was a little bit of a mixed bag. TSM was a little bit more, but Coast was still like it wasn't a great game either. So like I just want to hear your opinions on the games. Cry. How do you think CLG did against Coast? How do you think that playing from a deficit? Yeah. How do you think you were playing from a deficit, and just how do you think the game was overall?
Oh, well, yeah, so you mentioned it. I thought it was really funny because Coast was winning, ha ha ha, until they lost. But Coast was playing really well at first. They looked super dominant in the game. And it was funny because this was the game right before the TSM game, so of course everybody had that hype building up. Because CLG looked a little bit shaky, everyone was like, "Oh no, is something going to happen?" Because Chris, their top laner, was going off left and right. Coast looked super dominant up until the very end game. CLG was able to wait it out and take advantage of Coast's mistakes. So it was really good for them. Jim.
Jim.
Yeah, we saw them CLG playing at this deficit, unlike they had in any of their prior games, really, except for the game they got completely destroyed by Team Liquid in. And in this deficit, they were able to set up a one really good play. They hid in a bush that they knew was warded and took a fight while they were in this death rush. Had five members of Coast go all in on four people that were there, but who wasn't in that bush? Oh, it was Double Lift firing AoE rockets into that bush and an ultimate and literally just ate Ghost Launch.
Okay. So aside from that, like that really big turning point, do you think there's anything else CLG did particularly well, or is it just kind of like getting grinded out and then just like slingshotting back into the game, Jim?
I think they kept their composure well.
Mm-hmm.
Like in previous seasons, we saw CLG when they got behind like that. Like CLG would be known for having the team who played CLG in like fantasy league would if CLG lost, that team would get a lot of points because when CLG went down, they would go down hard. They would try every little thing, throw their bodies at anything that like they could throw a body at, and they kept their composure and were able to stick it together.
Okay. So you're saying that like this they show a little bit more restraint and coming back to the game and like it was a lot more calculated than like the past CLGs that we've seen?
Well, it was a more calculated body throwing attempt.
A body throwing attempt, I don't think
Yeah,
anything
they
was
were
like
like
okay.
they were happy to throw four people at the enemy and just let themselves die, but it was for the chance at getting the rest of the team.
Okay. So we're moving on to the marquee matchup of the week. It's CLG versus TSM. So everyone's super hyped coming into this game. CLG fans, TSM fans, Hotshots have as a bet with Reginald. We're gonna see either Pink Wukong or Pink Vi Hotshot. You know, it's like everyone's super building up, and then like game starts. What happens? Cry. What happened? What happened?
Okay. Um, well, this game for me especially, well, all CLG fans in general, was pretty depressing to watch because CLG was so strong in the beginning. It was like a complete stark opposite from the Coast game, right? Jim said that they kept their composure in the Coast game, right? No, not in TSM. They had a super strong early game. They looked really good. They were all up in their faces. They had control. But then near the end, it was kind of like one of those ranked games where you're winning, you're winning, you're winning, then you mess up one team fight, and then you start tilting the next one, and then you just start losing and losing and losing, and it goes downhill from there. But it was a pretty big I feel like they may or may not have tilted, but they had a pretty good grip on the game up until the last couple of team fights.
All right. So Jim, would you like to elaborate on just like the whole game and like the turning points? Because like
Sure.
from what I watched and a lot of other fans, it seemed like CLG was going to win that game unless they did something insanely, well, CLG-esque, and then that
They
happened.
did
So
so
can you
well.
just
I think they did something Coast-esque. They were
Winning up until they
winning
lost.
up until they lost. CLG dictated that game like they had been dictating all their wins previously, minus that Coast game. They were just in control of the game. I really, my favorite point about that game would have had to be Zion's choice of Frozen Mallet as a first item, because that led to some very interesting team fight engages. Normally, you see Gnar need to be in Mega Gnar form to engage in a team fight and make something happen, and by going Frozen Mallet, he was able to bait the enemy. Like, if a Gnar starts walking up and hitting you and he has a small amount of rage or full rage, like if he's got full rage, you're just going to run away. There's no reason, because he's just going to pop Mega Gnar, and then you can turn it around on him. But if he's got like a small to medium amount and he's chasing you down, now you have this really odd decision. And CLG played that decision for quite a long time in the game, was able to pressure out, get 4 dragons, get a Baron, just put themselves in a prime position to just win the game. But when push came to shove, I think like CLG kept their composure in the Coast game, TSM showed, oh yeah, we can do it too. We can take it. We can take all of your control. We can take the pounding that you're willing to give us.
Mhm.
But if you don't play it smart, we'll turn it. And my opinion, Wild Turtle and Lustboy just turned it on. And when CLG let themselves get out of position, they took advantage and were able to win one team fight too many and
Okay.
just take the game.
All right, but I think that like even though this is a loss, we can learn a lot from it. And then I think that like people were talking about Double Lips Corki and Zion Spartan's Gnar because they hadn't really been on those champions. And I think that it was like Zion looked pretty good on Gnar, and then Double Lips Corki was questionable. I mean,
By
there's
end
a
game, Zion dealt more damage to champs than
yeah.
Doublelift did.
Yeah,
so.
but it was I think like there's a reason why Double Lips played more Urgot in the LCS than Corki. Just putting that fact out there. But like Zion's
I was frustrated by some of the Corki play. I don't know if to blame him, because he was going for attempts that would have won team fights, but TSM was able to react to them. Like the two major team fights that they lost were Double Lift Valking in to try to pick off. I think it was Bjergsen. He tried to pick off Wild Turtle, and every time he valked forward, there was a stun waiting for him. And I like give props to TSM for being like, we know Double Lift is going to go for it. I see, like they were sitting there and probably were able to look across the stage and see red in his eyes and just catch him when he went for it.
I think this is a little bit less of like Double Lift like wanting to do that, but he's forced to do it because Corki doesn't do so well like late game as like compared to a Sivir. But I think that was pretty interesting to see.
A
like
good
that
part of it was the team comp.
Yeah, I think if we continued playing perfectly, we could have had that game in like 2 or 3 more minutes. But since we didn't do so, it was like we lost a giant chunk and then we couldn't really come back because of our team comp. So aside from the CLG versus TSM game, do you guys have anything else you want to add on that, or before we move on?
I say overall, it was just a good showing from both teams. I want to see that matchup again. I'm really excited for the next time it comes around.
All right. So moving off from the LCS, we have another team which is slightly less of like the star spotlight. Is going to be CLG Black with the roster West Rice, Thinkard, Easy, Stixay, ICANN. So I'm not a big follower of the challenger scene. I know that they just got into the challenger series. So can you guys just give me a rundown of the roster? What are their strong points? Why should we be cheering for them? And like, who are they going to be like the focal points of the team? Jim?
Sure. Well, we should be cheering for them because they're a CLG team, and I think they've got a big chance at taking over the challenger scene. A lot of people are going to remember West Rice and Thinkard from the previous season of LCS. West Rice was Complexity's top laner, and that guy's pretty solid. I really liked him because of how aggressive he plays. He commits to a team fight and is willing to just go in hard. Thinkard, you'll remember from being a sub for CLG a few times, and he's performed pretty reasonably well. I don't think his style fit the main CLG roster, so it didn't work out as getting him as like the main jungler, but definitely a player to be looking for. Stixay is the former AD carry of Cloud9's challenger team, and ICANN used to be a top laner for it was Complexity Black he played. And then Easy is a Chinese mid laner who's kind of come out of the woodwork. I think they have a good mix of players. They've got some veterans. They've got some new blood. I think they can take over.
All right. So I think that should be about it for LoL for right now. We're gonna be moving on to CS:GO and talking about like we had a lot of major news going on over there. So for I think last week we talked about a little bit about the IEM online qualifiers where they did the where they got through and they squeaked by, and now they're in the offline qualifier. So Cry, could you just take us away, give us a rundown of what happened in the IEM?
Okay, so so this week our CLG CS:GO team qualified for the Katowice offline qualifiers in Poland. And so they actually won. They had a best of one versus Gamers 2, who used to be known as ESC, and they were a tier 2 EU team, I believe. They're capable of holding their own against like top teams like Ninjas in Pajamas, LDLC, Fnatic. So they're like they can hold like so G2 is like Gamers 2 aren't a team to be underestimated necessarily. And CLG was able to win versus them, which is very impressive. It's really telling of them and their ability. And then they had another best of one versus Titan, where they had a pretty good showing also. You guys want to take off on that?
Okay, so I think that we played two major series, two best of ones, because it was a best of one format. Where first one was against Ocelot's G2 team. They weren't the highest tier EU team, and then we played against Titan, which was more like the upper echelon teams. So then we're going to be talking about whatchamacallit, just talking about like the different like aspects of what happened on each game. So I'm gonna throw it over to Jim because he actually followed those games quite more closely. I just like came by stuff for the highlights, saw a couple of Tark clutch moments, and then just like zoomed out afterwards. So can you just give us a rundown, everything that happened, go in depth, give us nitty gritty?
All right. So the game versus Gamers 2 was just it wasn't a huge game to watch. My opinion is the Titan game's worth watching more. We saw CLG just step up and show that they're able to perform on that. Hey, we can compete with EU team level. I was more interested in watching this Titan game because you saw a lot of people are touting Peter as like a Kenny S-esque, like a top opper in North America, and now he has to face off against arguably the best opper in the world. So in this game, it was really interesting because CLG had lost an early pistol round and then was able to take back round 2 when Titan committed to 3 scouts in round 2. And this was off of an amazing play from Tarek, a 4-kill round when he was defending B site. Quite literally, he had a 5-7 and 4 Titan players just tried to rush in and take it from him, and he brought it to them. We saw CLG take like a really solid CT side. I think they went. I think it was 10-5, and then they were able to get up to 15. I think it was 15-8 was the largest lead that they had. But we saw Kenny S bring back just show up as the Kenny S that a lot of Titan fans know and love. He just went insane, but and brought the score reel back up to 15-14. So was about to go into overtime, and in this in the 60 or the last round, the 30th round of the match, Peter picked Kenny quite early in the round, and CLG rushed both sides of A, and were able to just. It wasn't an MLG Aspen-esque. We don't know if this is a big. We don't know is Peter gonna come and clutch at 3 health? No, CLG just took the round and then took the game.
All right. So would you say that Titan like choked or like underperformed? Do you think CLG overperformed? Was it a mix of two? I'll throw this over to Cry because she also followed the CS:GO scene too.
This was actually really cool because Tarek's gotten some criticism from like the community that like maybe he's a choker in terms of like offline qualifiers, but he actually stepped up, getting that 4K like at the B site in Dust 2, and it was nice seeing him like be able to hold his own and not like freak out. We usually are used to seeing like Cutler or Peter like step up in situations like this, but Tarek was able to like show up, and if he can stay this consistent throughout the tournament, then I think we have a lot to look forward to for CLG.
All right. So for everyone who's like just going to be like me and just like tuning in whenever there's time, catch them at IEM Katowice. It's going to be later next month. But then CLG stickers. So you can get those stickers for your guns. I think that's what they're for. I'm not too familiar with all this stuff. If you guys want to contribute to the prize pool, that's a major, so you can buy boxes or pack. cases, correct? All right,
Yes.
so it's going to be interesting, I think, to say the least. So we're going to moving on to CLG Halo, which has been a little bit of more of a dry season for them, even though they started off really strong. So I think once again we've lost to Noble Black. This is the third time we've lost to them, so it's kind of like a recurring theme. So, but each time it's super close. So it's like I've heard last week that they were scrimming against Noble Black, right, Jim?
Yes, there were several scrims that they played against Noble Black. There were connection issues a few times, but they kept both teams were willing to keep playing against each other. It was I think that's like partly why like CLG decided, okay, we're gonna reach out to Noble Black to scrim them because we've been losing against them.
Yeah.
And Noble Black gets to scrim against the top ranked team.
Okay.
Why not? I think we've seen the teams have gotten to figure each other out. That's why these matches are so close, because they know how each other play.
Yeah.
And so far, we've just seen every time Noble's able to edge it out.
Yeah, because it's super close each time. It's always like, and CLG just had one or two more shots go their way, one or two more kills go their way. They could easily just turn these series around and gone a little bit further in the tournament. But I feel like this is a really good, like, just like a roadblock for them. So if they can overcome this before the next major LAN, which is Gamers for Giving on February 22nd, they can really become a lot stronger of a team, even though they're already a very strong team. So they lost Noah Black in the semifinals. So they finished 58th. Evil Geniuses beat Optic, who in turn beat Noble Black in the finals. So Evil Geniuses scored a couple more points. But at the end of the day, we're still at the top of the standings for the HCS. So CLG right now has 6,605 points. So it's a pretty healthy buffer between second. The Nile finished 58th as well, and they got 6,035 points. And then Evil Geniuses is the third person, is 5,500 points. So it's like we have a healthy cushion, but if we can secure a strong placing at the Gamers for Giving, then it's good. So aside from that, it's just like we're just trying to. It's not so much damage control as we're trying to like ramp up for the next major LAN, because right after the LAN is going to be the season 1 finals at PAX East, which is going to be very, very fun because apparently they have doubled the prize pool. So the first place team gets 50K, 50 grand.
That sounds.
I think so. Yeah, it's 50 grand for the first team. Second place team gets 20 grand. It's very, very, very going to be a very big event. It's going to be, if you're going to want to support CLG, this would be a good time. We win a second LAN, second LAN in 3 years for CLG. Not LOL though, but
as an entire organization.
Hey, good enough, right?
It's better than nothing. So I'm just gonna go into depth about what happened this tourney. So normally there's like rounds of 100, like 100 something, 200 something people in the rounds. So like normally it's like crazy, but this time it was only round of 64, and even then we got a bye. This was due to the fact that a lot of the teams that would normally participate in these events they just dropped out of the tournament because they couldn't reach the season 1 finals anyway, even if they won this tournament. So they had no incentive to play. So in the round of 32, we played against Animus Esports on King of the Hill Warlord and Team Slayer Lockdown. Those were two relatively not close. It was relatively strong games from CLG, strong showings. It was a 50 point lead on King of the Hill, and there's like 20 kills on Lockdown. The round of 16 against EX Blacks was a little bit closer, but it still was a strong showing from CLG. Capture the Flag Warlord was 5-2, pretty dominant. Team Slayer was 50-44, so it's like there's a lot of margin for error. But then the series you probably want to watch is Noble Black. This is the third series we played against them. Quarterfinals, I think we got knocked out all 3 times here in the quarterfinals. So Capture the Flag Shrine 3-0 for CLG, which I think was different from the last encounters, because I think we lost the last couple of Capture the Flags, even though CLG is very like well known for being strong in their objective play. Team Slayer, it was Warlord. It was 46-50, so like it was like 2 or 3 shots went the right way, then CLG could easily have cinched this series. So it's like very, very good that they're getting the losses now and being able to improve for the next one, for the LAN, where they really need to have their A game and like really need to secure their first place seed for the finals at PAX East. Do you guys have anything else you want to add to the Halo stuff? Because I think we're going to be moving on after that.
I'm a very casual Halo viewer, so I don't know much about the scene, but from what I can tell, I'm not sure if the CLG Halo team has some consistency problems, because from the beginning, when they were first picked up, they seemed to be a lot more dominant than they are now. So I'm not 100% knowledgeable about that.
Jim, do you have anything you want to add? Do you have any like clarifying statements you want to add to that?
Not too much. I think I'm excited for the upcoming LANs. because where we've seen CLG perform best has been on the LAN scene. It's really, I think it's really nice that CLG is able to scrim against their team, effectively their counterpart now, this team that beats them every time. Forward looking, I think CLG, if they figure out a way to keep their stuff together, like keep their game together during the online events, win a few more HCSs, we could see this team being very strong for quite some time.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say that to clarify, I think that it is so that they're much better on LAN because they finished first on Iron Gaming Columbus, or was I think it was Iron Gaming Columbus. That was the first LAN. They finished first in that, and then they got second at the what it was called, the UGC St. Louis. So it's like their LAN performances have been very consistent so far, even though they've only been 2. So I think that it's very whatchamacallit, it's very telling of how their LAN perform. If the LAN performances are consistent, if you can go up to 3, 4, or 5 events where you consistently place top 2, then you shouldn't be worrying about anything. I think it might just be it's offline, it's online, and there's sometimes there's connection issues, and then sometimes they're not playing against at their best form. So we shouldn't be worrying too much. Okay, so I'm going to be moving on to the game, just from the Halo section to the games and plays of the week. So we're going to be playing a clip very soon. So we're going to have our tech guy do that soon.
Once again, going to do exactly the same thing, rinse and repeat, to see if they can get that second round on the board.
Out the middle for Titan. Didn't want to fight too long against the scout, but Tarek is there, gets a kill on Apex. Has time to reload here, 5-7, very powerful. Finesse also chiming in. Tarek drops the bomb here. Now it's a double out to triple. Tarek! Oh, you gotta be kidding. Now it's down to Maniac 1v3 here. Out into the middle with the AK in hand. He's gonna get overwhelmed. That's a quad kill from Tarek with a 5-7.
Yeah, that is definitely what I consider a play of the week.
Yeah, that was a pretty intense, just as a casual CSGO, I'm just did that just happen? So it's a pretty good play from just as a casual fan. So I like to see if you could just talk about it a little bit more, Jim.
Well, this is the Tarek that we watch on stream. We watch when they stream their scrims. We see Tarek just take over B site here. This is when they had gone down in their pistol round prior. 3 of the players that came in and rushed at him had scouts. They came in with rifles. Could have picked him. This is Kenny S on a rifle. This is a guy that comes and pushes around corners with the scouts and kills people. It's just something intense to see a player like Tarek, who's had issues in offline events prior. He just showed up and showed, okay, yeah, I'm not just this guy who streams and is able to perform when it's online and the pressure's not on my shoulders.
I'm really glad that Tarek managed to pull it out this week because he's always been one of my favorite CLG CSGO members besides PTR because he's my man, PTR, right? But then Tarek, he's always a really nice guy, and it's really nice to see him have that breakout performance where he's just putting the team on his back and saying I got this, just follow behind me. And it's really refreshing to see different members of the CLG squad being able to pop up at different members at a time. It's similar to Cloud9, where when one of the members dropped off in law, at least the other teams other people will pick up the slack. So it's very interesting to see even as a very young team, from what we know, that they're already having this people are different people are peaking for different events. Would you like to add anything to that, Cry?
You talked about how he's a really fun player to watch. Just a little plug. He's awesome to watch stream, guys. His little sister barges in on his room every other game, and it's freaking hilarious to see. Anyway, sorry. So he's like, wait, don't stop. I'm in a meeting, and it's meeting.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Okay, so I think we've pretty much covered the play of the week. There haven't really been many highlights that I understand from Law, at least, and Halo's been a little bit eh. So we're going to be moving on to the CLG Player of the week. So I'm just going to be saying it out loud. I think CSGO has to be the spotlight. Being able to qualify for IAM Katowice and doing all they've done this week, they've really stepped up and they've really made us CLG fans proud, made us the organization proud. We really want to wish them best of luck when they go to IAM. And who do you think would be your MVP or your Player of the week? Jim?
I I mean, we just showed a highlight of Tarek. I think giving it to him would be completely fine. I think he stepped up in his games. And one thing that we don't have the reel of his other. He made another 4K later in that match. I think 2 rounds later, he defended B side again, this time with a rifle, and yeah, performed in the exact same manner, taking out everyone with him.
Okay, Cry, would you like to add anything to that?
I think that Tarek had a very good showing, but also I think we should recognize Peter a bit. He is such a consistent player, and he's like a really strong backbone for the team. And it was really funny watching D-Man like fail his handshake attempt. Like Peter went for a handshake, and D-Man kind of just like shrugged him off, and that was really funny. But but I think that Peter like really does provide like a really good backbone, like solid backbone for the team, and I think that he's like really good support for them.
Yeah, from what I've heard, he's like a bit of like a moral support for the team. Like when people are getting too hyped or too down, he's like, calm down and keep this shit together. We can win the game.
And I mean, this might be a little bit off, but he kind of like reminded me of Nien in some cases, at least in appearance too, because he's like that happy, sunshiny guy, you know, that you expected out of Nien, or the one he used to be anyway when he used to be on CLG. Okay, well, we got that down. You want to talk about what's happening next week?
Sure. So while Azure has some technical issues, let's keep going. So we've got LOL next week. We've got 3 things to really look for. We have our 2 CLG games, one versus Dignitas and one versus Cloud9. It's interesting. It's exciting to be prepared for these games because both of these teams have rebounded a bit recently. Cry, do you have any opinions on like the recent rebounding or the difference in communication that communication Dignitas and CLG have, or even how Kiwi Kid talked about his lane?
Yeah, so Kiwi Kid, in a statement in an interview, said that he thinks that him and Core JJ might be the second best bot lane NA, second only to Rush Hour, which I personally have some doubts in because I think that Kiwi Kid, yeah, sure, he's Kiwi Kid, but it's, like, even on top of like the whole like problems that people might have had with Kiwi Kid initially, there's also the problems that they're gonna have to encounter with the fact that Core JJ's like first language is not English. I'm not sure how we know of his English, or if we think if it's super good or not, but because from what I understand, it's not. And communication, especially in bot lane where you really do have to constantly rely on your partner, that might come off as a problem. And I'm pretty sure that if we're talking just communication and ability, like Turtle and like Lust Boy are like leagues ahead of them. Or I don't know. That's just me coming from a casual viewer. That's just from what I can tell from their gameplay. But yeah, I have doubts with that statement.
I think what we have is like the reversal of roles between CLG and Dignitas. Welcome back, Azure. We see last year CLG had communication troubles with 2 members of their team not having English as their first language. Dexter, yes, did have great English, but it may have not been. It wasn't what he learned from his family. It's something he picked up along, maybe a major part of it just from playing video games. And now Dignitas is in that position, but they seem to be. I think Dignitas, with just switching out their jungler to Cloud9, I'm pretty sure that they're going to be a stronger team just now that they don't have. I don't want to say Crumbs was baggage, but the team played like they had baggage, and I think him relieving himself of that role can take the weight off the rest of the team's shoulders. Yeah, they don't have to feel like they're performing. They can have someone else call all the shots. I think it'll be a good match. I expect CLG to win because I think CLG is stronger in every position across the board. Save maybe Link when Shifter is playing out of his mind. But yeah, further. But what about the CLG Cloud9 game? I think that's one to be excited about.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. I think that CLG versus Cloud9 should be the match we're focusing on, and CLG versus Dignitas should be like more of a second string game. But I think that whatchamacallit, like we were very like the multilingual problems are very, very apparent in some teams. Like as we saw Seraph at CLG, as we saw with Piglet and Team Liquid. We were just announced recently that Piglet's going to be on the bench, and we're going to have, and hashtag Keep Keith actually worked out. So I think there's a lot more like going on behind the scenes. A lot more going behind the scenes that like we don't understand as fans because we don't see the whole picture. That like it's a very like being able to speak the same language is a very like underrated like ability or like thing to have as a team. I think that's very like apparent now, coming like seeing after how like some of the seeing how some of the different teams with like foreign players failed so miserably. And how do you guys feel about the Cloud9 game? I think that it's not going to be the same as the week one Cloud9 because they seem very shaky that week. But I think like they're still not at like full power, like waffle stomping 24 and like 7, like 24 and something insane. You know how their record was, and like Meteos is just like the 40 something KDA. So like, how do you want to feel about this like match, Cry? And do you think that's going to be like a tougher match than like what we've played so far?
I think that C9 definitely this time around will bring more of a tougher match. Like they'll put up more of a fight. Because they look like they're finally like getting a grip on stuff now, and also I'm looking forward to this because it's well known that like CLG and C9 are like big scrim partners, and because they know each other so well, like CLG's been confident against C9 in the past, so I think that first I want to see like CLG like not go on a nosedive after the whole TSM thing. Because I'm a bit worried about that just because of like everything that's happened in the past. But I think that the C9 game especially will be like key in that because like the Dignitas game, okay, it's Dignitas, but C9 is a team that they've been up against like constantly in scrims, and like they're confident against them and they have a good mindset against them, and I think that this game will be like pretty important.
I agree, and I think that we should never, ever clown out C9 because like Cloud9 has always been like that team. If you want to bet your money on something, it's Cloud9 being good and at the top of NA.
Yeah.
And it's going to be it's going to be a very good series, a very good game, and I hope that everyone who's here watching can actually tune in for that too. So in addition to the LCS games, you actually have a very interesting situation going on with the Challenger series. So we're going to CLG Black should have been playing against Cloud9 Tempest, but apparently Cloud9 Tempest was playing with the Ringer in their match against Team Confound. So we're actually going to be playing against Team Confound. So like you guys just lay me on with that Challenger series wisdom, because to me the Challenger series is about as relevant as Southeast Asia.
Hey, whoa. I'm from Southeast Asia, bud.
So?
Hey.
It'll be an interesting game though. The thing is, I don't see much known other than them than Team Confound making it to the game against Cloud9 Tempest and losing there. There's not much to know about the team. I don't have the VOD, or I don't know where I can find the information on that matchup. But from knowing how dominant CLG has been playing, I'm pretty sure CLG Black has played in their leading up to this to the Challenger series. I'm excited for them, and I guess I'm gonna correct a flub I made earlier. I definitely clicked on the wrong Leaguepedia link and forgot that Easy. There was a former Chinese player named Easy. We actually have Zenith Esports mid laner Easy, who is yes, he's an American player and was performing in the Challenger series last split.
Okay.
So no completely fresh blood. All players that we've seen before and have some sort of knowledge of how they can perform.
Okay, so before I move into CS:GO and talk about Katowice there, we although like the TSM CLG game probably had the biggest impact on the TSM being able to go to IEM Katowice. If TSM goes 0-2 and if CLG go 2-0 in the next week, I think we still go to IEM Katowice because we will be up a single game on TSM, correct?
Correct.
But that's very unlikely, so just like keep your hopes low. Don't get that false hope. We don't want to be on the roller coaster of CLG. But if Loco Doco bombs and TSM just like fails horribly, I think that would be a very counter logic way to get to IEM Katowice.
Oh yeah, it would be the most counter logic thing possible.
Okay, so we're going to move on to CS:GO, where we actually have a Katowice spot locked down. We're going to be talking about ESEA. So just like lay it on me. I want some CS:GO stuff. What do I do? What do I talk about? What am I watching? Am I going to be burning that midnight oil? When is this happening? Go.
So we already know later in March 15th, or effectively a month from now, we have Katowice's coming on, and for now there's going to be scrims and there's going to be ESEA matches. That's more or less what is the CLG's preparation for this big offline major tournament. And so if you want to watch scrims, you can tune into probably any of the CLG players' streams, and they may be streaming their scrims. I know Tark's got the most numbers most of the time, and he's pretty entertaining to watch. So he's who you can tune into. I've watched a bit of Peter's stream recently, and he's pretty entertaining. He's as nice of a guy as he seems in like every little interview. And then
he seems so cool. Not gonna lie, Peter seems so cool.
Yeah.
And then we've got the ESEA games coming up this week. We have CLG has a match against C9, who is arguably the top NA team right now after iBuyPower was banned. So that's going to be just a key match to watch. They have another game versus Mythic Men, which are doing reasonably well in the standings, but we don't know how we don't know how well CLG will do against them. It's not the match that I'd want to watch. If I'm watching two matches or one match out of these, I'm going to watch one match. It's going to be C9. If I'm watching two of these matches, the last match is CLG versus SKDC. And the reason this one I'm a bit hyped about is because CLG in their last ESEA game versus SKDC lost. So I just kind of want to see them to bring the revenge.
All right, so our producer just gave us some breaking news. Apparently, we have yet another TSM versus CLG war going on because Team Confound just got picked up by TSM, and they're going to be under the banner of TSM Darkness.
Hey!
So it's going to be another TSM versus CLG.
Oh yeah, now I remember. It's
Bro, even in the challenger scene.
If anyone doesn't know, it's Team Confound, or now TSM Darkness, is Azingi's team.
Azingi's team, yes.
Geez.
Yes.
Okay, this is going to be very interesting. Oh, do you know if Team Dignitas and now Team TSM is going to be at Katowice as well, and we could crush them on two fronts? Are they already guaranteed?
Crush them on two fronts.
Well, let's just see who's the darker team, CLG Black or TSM Darkness, at least. So aside from all the breaking news about TSM versus CLG, we're going to be talking about Halo, where CLG is firmly on top of the corpse of all those TSM fans, because there's no TSM team, but you know. So we're going to be gearing up for the next LAN, which is going to be on February 22nd, Gamers for Giving. It's going to be probably going to decide the final standings before the Season 1 finals at PAX East, and which is going to be at PAX East, which is going to be on March 7th and 8th. So this is going to be like the final shakeup. CLG is still on top, Denial's in second, EG's on third. So like whoever gets like the first place spot will probably lock down like a very solid like positioning, and they will be able to whatchamacallit. They'll be able to like make a relatively safe run through the first season championships. So how do you guys feel about that whole scene going on? Do you think that CLG is going to do well? Do you think do you think that they're going to have like a it's kind of hard to say. Do you think, what do you think they're going to do?
I think CLG is going to come out and have a good offline performance. I think they're a team that they've shown that they have strong offline skills. They've shown that they can keep reasonably together against good teams in online performance. I think this is where they show whether, like, I think this is like this first LAN coming up is where they're going to show we're a dominant offline team. If you face us in a LAN tournament, we're going to beat you. If they don't, like, this is where they can prove that, or it can get disproven and just show that Columbus was a fluke.
Okay, so I think that should be about it for all the CLG news for this week and the next. So you can tune in next week or tune in whenever we have the next podcast, and let's like enjoy all the juicy CLG news. So thanks for following us again. We can cheer for TSM Black versus CLG Black versus TSM Darkness, and then we can watch CLG obviously trounce that trash European TSM team, right? Come on, Tim.
Oh well,
okay.
I mean, Dignitas.
We just beat Titan. Come on, we just beat Titan.
Yeah, but for the former Dignitas roster was pretty good.
Our guys have been looking strong though. Like, you can't deny they've been looking really strong.
All right.
Yeah, but Pasha's been looking strong.
Okay. Well, whatever.
Okay, once again, thanks for watching this episode of TLDR CLG. This is once again the week of February 16th, 2015, and we hope you guys have a nice, very, very CLG filled week.